Good morning, everyone. We're here on Tuesday, November the 4th, at our Finance Committee meeting, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. I would like to acknowledge that we are within Mi'kma'ki, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. As to our agenda, we are going to be having nominations and elections by ballot for the chair and vice chair. And I'm going to turn the time over to April for this activity.
Good morning, everyone. On your desk, I believe you may have your ballots that have been circulated. If you don't, let us know and we'll make sure you have them. And if you don't have a pen, I have extra pens here. So we're going to start with the nomination for the chair of the Finance Committee. So nominated for chair of the Finance Committee, we have Councillor Reinhardt, Councillor Smith, Councillor Brooks, Councillor Burns, Councillor Oikel, so on the ballot for the chair of the Finance Committee is Councillors Reinhardt, Councillor Smith, Councillor Brooks, Councillor Burns, and Councillor Oikel.
I would like to formally have my name removed from the ballot at this time. Thank you.
I would like to also remove my name.
And myself as well, please. Thank you.
So remaining on the ballot.
I would also like to remove my name and would be happy to be vice.
Well, she gets to do.
You get to come up here now and take over for the next part. Yes, ma'am. Today and right now.
All right, thanks very much. We'll get right into the vote for vice chair.
So nominated for vice chair for the Finance Committee, we have Councillor Burns, Councillor Brooks, Councillor Moore. So nominated for vice chair is Councillor Burns, Councillors Brooks, and Councillor Moore. And Councillor Moore, you have your hand raised.
No, thank you.
And Councillor Brooks.
I'd like to remove my name, please.
The efficient voting process.
And Councillor Burns, you are the vice chair.
So can I have a motion to destroy the ballots? Moved by Mayor McLean-Weil, seconded by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, so we'll move on to Section 2. Are there any announcements, acknowledgements, or recognition? Mayor McLean-Weil.
I attended the Sports Hall of Fame, the Lunenburg County Sports Hall of Fame induction on Sunday evening. It was really a well-attended event and really interesting presentation of 6 people from our community. Some live in the town of Bridgewater, but a number live in the municipality. David Penny, many of you will know for kickboxing and boxing. Lisa Ross for sailing. Ted Vino for coaching and refereeing basketball. David Walker for hockey. Gerald Mossman and Sonny Heisler for rowing in the international rowing competition. So their pictures now are presented on the wall at the LCLC, and if you're in the building, it would be good to just have a look. There's quite a number there. This was the 7th year, and quite a wide range of athletes and those who support athletic pursuits here in our community.
Councillor Smith. I just wanted to announce that the 10th annual Lunenburg Lit Festival, hosted by South Shore Public Libraries, kicks off this Thursday. And the first event is a children's reading by Teresa Muse. Teresa Muse is a Mi'kmaq knowledge sharer and former chief of Altsukuk, also known as Bear River. She'll be reading from her book, The Friendship Center, which teaches young readers about the importance of friendship centers in urban areas. And this is just the first of many wonderful readings over the next 3 days. And of course, I want to give a shout out to a writer from my district, Jan Fancy Hull, a mystery writer who will be speaking on a panel about writing from their local community. And, you know, this is the 10th year for this festival, and it takes a lot of work, and it's now quite a thriving festival, despite the being scheduled in hurricane season, which has led to a number of snafus over the years. But I just want to say they make a great contribution to the local cultural economy. Festivals draw in a lot of people and really put us on the map as a place that prizes literary expression. And from day one, they've really prized literary diversity, which can definitely be seen in this year's program as well. So I hope everyone gets to check it out, and to congratulate the South Shore Public Libraries on this 10th anniversary milestone.
Okay, thank you for those. And I know many of us will be away at conference for a lot of the Lit Festival, but perhaps we can catch some of the tail end when we get back. So now is the portion of the meeting for public input. We allot 15 minutes at the beginning of each council, finance, and some other meetings for public input. Yeah, but I don't see anyone in the gallery today for public input, so we will move on from that. So next is if there are any changes to be made to the agenda. And seeing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Moore and seconded by Councillor Oikel. All those in favor? Motion is passed unanimously. And next, is there any business arising from the minutes?
No, there was no public input at the previous Finance Committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I skipped over approving the minutes as circulated. So could I get a motion to approve? Don't need to. Okay. If there's no changes, then the minutes are approved as circulated. Thank you. Okay, we don't have any presentations and no referrals from committees. So we'll move right on to staff reports and start with the Finance Department.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So we'll start with the operating second quarter variance report to September 30th, 2025. So in this second quarter report, we do comment on, I need to duplicate my screen. Windows what? Windows P. Just bear with me. There we go. So yes, I'm just going to bring it on the screen so you can have a quick look as we go. So we do comment on all variances over $1,000. So the revenue variance is showing a $630,600 forecast more than what we have budgeted in revenue. The majority of that, there's a lot of ins and outs. As staff, we get new grants or new revenues become known to us. But the biggest part of this would be your deed transfer tax. The deed transfer tax is, at the end of September, was sitting at 1.7 million. We budget 1.8. So just based on prior years, we're estimating that perhaps about another 500,000 will come in for deed transfer tax. It may be higher or lower. It just depends on sales in the area. As well, another big part of this is we've gotten some grants. Project Volunteer, Age-Friendly Regional Economic Development Study. So that's another 80,000 added to the budget. So, as well as some other wind farm revenues that for a grant program that we're doing in the Recreation Department. So you'll see the wind farm revenue coming in and it going out in the other end on the expenditure side. So that's what accounts for these variances on the revenue side. I'll move on to the expenditure side. Hopefully you can see this okay. So just on this page, there's not a lot. We're thinking that the mayor and council expenses might be down a little bit based on just the council chamber equipment budget repair that we haven't had to use. So that's 10,000 of that. The grant side, you see a 33.3 increase. Now that's got to do with a community recreation capital grant that council approved in May, and that 15,000 in the wind farm revenues that we got that we're going to administer to the organizations based on that policy. stop me if you have any questions, for sure. So on this page, a little bit of increased cost in protective inspection services. A lot has to do with maintenance costs for some of our aging vehicles. Increased costs on the LaHave sewer maintenance, where some of the systems that municipality still owns have to be maintained. And on the recreation side, on staffing, facilities, and programming, looks like there's going to be about a $52,000 reduction in lots of areas. Some of it has to do with park maintenance, an e-bike program that was actually in the capital budget but also budgeted in operating.
Councillor Moore?
Yep.
Through you to Elena, can you tell me how many years left we got on LaHave River straight pipe?
We just retired the first year, so we
Okay.
would have six more years.
Six, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the last page of our operating variances, there's a financing and transfer, $20,000 differential for, or actually 40 in total. One has to do with the community recreation capital grants expenditures. We're transferring money in to cover that. And 20,000 from our open space and sustainability reserves for the Friends of Crescent Beach request. So that's where that money's coming from. Some little differentials in the area rate sections, which is your sewage collection and disposal revenues and expenditures. So actually it's increased revenue and decreased expenditures, but they both look positive here. It's just the way that the math works. So in the end, we are looking at about $580,700 surplus in the operating fund, which is about 1.24% variance on your budget.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any questions, so we can move on to 10.1.2.
This would be your capital status and CCBF report, which is your second quarter as well. So we've made some changes to this report based on some comments from the last Finance Committee meeting at the last quarter to give council a better understanding and the public and be more transparent on where we are with our projects. We've now classified the status as green, which means the projects are on time and will be completed by year end. Yellow, that they may be delayed, and red, they will not proceed. So, for example, the solar garden, we know that that PPA wasn't accepted, so we know the project's not going to move forward, so that's red. The tax bill portal, we're working on that right now, actually, with the software developer, so it won't be done by March 31st, but it'll be ready for the April tax billing. So hence why it's yellow, because it's going to carry over the next year. And the Economic Development Enhancement Plan, that's going as planned. Now, do you want me to go over every project or just show every page and see if there's any questions?
I think probably we could just go over every page and see if there's any questions.
Sure. Okay, so this starts the engineering and public works section. Did I skip a page? I always feel like I've skipped a page, but I don't think I have. Nope, okay. Okay, so any questions on this page? I'll move to page 10.
Councillor
Councillor
Oikel?
Regarding the J-class roads, usually it was in the fall that we usually sometimes heard. Was it not, or was it in the summer we heard, and then in the fall we heard the price? Is that usually how it went?
I think the city will change that.
Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
So the agreement provides that we have to provide our J-class road list by the end of October. We typically get a response from the province in June to tell us whether or not we have had any roads approved and the amount that they estimate the cost to be. Then it goes to tender, and then if the tender price is more than 10% above the estimated cost, we have to reapprove it. So we have submitted our J-class road list in October, and now we'll wait and see if we get them in the spring.
Thank you. I was just confused as to what time of year they all came in. Thank you.
Okay, we've moved on to the wastewater treatment plant projects, which all seem to be going the way they expect to, except for maybe the manhole cover repairs. I could keep going. Any questions on public transit, or I'll just keep going? We've moved on to recreation. There are some yellows in, or delays in maybe the Marks and Wiles Lake, just because of the, when the RFP was awarded, and some delays on the Hillside Cemetery Monument, depending on who wants to put their names on and what kind of monument we're going to put on it or use.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the public transit and, like, do we have an ETA on the bus or on the revised routes from Bridgewater? I'm just wondering how that process is going.
So we expect to bring a report back to council at either policy and strategy or second council in November. We did meet with the mayor and the CEO for the town Monday. Was that yesterday? And so their information is going to their council, and then it'll go to our council the following day. So if they bring it the 15th or the 16th, we'll bring it the 17th or 18th, and just so that the information is going from one council to another with as little delay as possible.
So I think the only delays on this one is out on the trails, depending on when the weather, they might not get them installed, but the RFP was issued in October, I think, of this, or just last month, so that's on that page. And the last page, the pickleball courts is slightly delayed just because of the way the work ended up with construction and the group. So in the end, you've got $12.8 million forecasted to be spent of the $18.3 million budget. At the end of September, we had spent $1.5 million. And that's the end of that.
Great, thank you. Are there any final? Okay, Councillor Oikel.
Are you able to share with us what is the actual delay with the pickleballs?
So the first is the ground preparation. So they have to prepare the site for the pickleball court, and you can't put the court down in cold weather. So all they could get through this year was a driveway and parking lot. So that's what they're working on now. And so the delays were related to an inability to operate next to forested area because of the advice we received from the Department of Natural Resources on having heavy equipment in what could be considered forested area at the top end of the mark. So we waited for that to be completed, and then the contractor did some site testing to find out the optimal spot for the courts to be placed. So that work has been done. The courts themselves and the material have been purchased and are being stored in New Glasgow by the contractor. And the anticipation is that the courts will be put in the spring. So there's been a number of site visits with the Pickleball Court Association, some of our staff. I attended one meeting, so it's moving forward, but it was slowed because of the conditions over the summer months.
Councillor Smith.
I just wanted to ask about the Art in the Parks. I always forget if it's Art in the Parks or Art on the Trails. RFP and the whole schedule of the program. I know that the RFP has come back. I'm just wondering when notification, like the tender will come back to council. And then what happens if something can't be installed in this fiscal year? Can it be put in place later, and what does that, just wondering about our schedule for this program and what thoughts might be on tweaking it.
Yeah, so the proposals are in, staff are reviewing, so there'll be a report that comes back to council for a recommendation for award. Part of the proposal was for the artists to outline their schedule. And we did put in the RFP, it needed to be completed by the end of March, but also put something in the RFP recognizing that if there's weather conditions, it may have to get installed in the spring. So we're flexible if we don't want something installed if it's not an appropriate time of the year to be installed or we have snow on the ground. So it would be a carryover. We would have awarded the contract if we make payment of X amount of dollars. We wouldn't pay the final installment until it was installed and we were satisfied with it, and we would issue it in the next fiscal year. So you'd be indicated that there would be a carryover for that project. But there still would be the award, so there'd be the commitment from the municipality. So I just want to make that clear.
Okay, are there any final questions before we move on to the next item? Okay, I'm seeing none, so we'll move on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're going to move on to the housekeeping amendments to Policy 3, Council Members' Remuneration, Benefits and Expenses, and also Policy 102, Audit Committee. So Policy 3, in January, Council repealed and replaced the Council Members' Remuneration, Benefits and Expense Policy. The addition of a policy statement and scope along with the annual adjustment of reporting requirements were made. In addition, the requirements for reimbursement of expenses, removal of CAO approval requirements, and eligibility of constituency communication were included. The proposed housekeeping amendment is in Policy 3 just to provide clarity that travel and related expenses are eligible expenses for reimbursement. So it's just clarifying that one line. Your other policy is the Audit Committee Policy, Policy 102. So in January, Council of 2025, Council also approved the Audit Committee Policy, which replaced the terms of reference for the committee as it provided better public transparency. So the Audit Committee does meet twice a year. The committee is made up of full council and is closely tied to the Finance Committee. It was discussed previously that the Chair and Vice Chair of the Finance Committee be the Chair and Vice Chair of the Audit Committee. So direction was given to staff to make amendments and bring forward for Council's consideration. So we have done that in that policy.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion, we have two motions actually. So we'll put the motion on the floor and then I'll see if there are any questions on it. Councillor Hubley, would you like to put the motion forward?
Thank you. Yes, to the Chair and members of Finance Committee, I move that the Finance Committee recommends to Municipal Council that Municipal Council adopt amendments to Policy 102 Audit Committee as presented, and hereby gives 7 days' notice of Council's intention to adopt on November 25th, 2025. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Hubley, seconded by Mayor McLean-Weil. Are there any questions on the motion? No, all those in favor? Motion passed unanimously. And would anyone like to put the second motion on the floor? Councillor Moore?
To Chair and members of Finance Committee, I move that Finance Committee recommend to Municipal Council that Municipal Council adopt amendments to Policy 003, Council Members
remuneration, benefits, and expenses as presented, and hereby give 7 days' notice of council's intention to adopt on November 25th, 2025.
Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Hubley. Are there any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passed unanimously. So we will move on to item 10.1.4, the 2026-27 draft budget schedule.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So you have before you the proposed 26-27 draft budget schedule. Our new budget is now in the planning stages. So to facilitate the inclusion of revisions to Council's strategic plan and to ensure opportunities for public input, staff are suggesting that this schedule is what we will kind of live by for our budget process this year. It will so the schedule includes all meetings and dates where budget matters will be discussed and debated by Council. Each budget meeting this year, again, will start with a staff presentation followed by public input and then Council debate. This schedule should enable staff and Council to get the budget passed by March 31st, 2026 in advance of our new year.
Are there any questions on the budget schedule? Councillor Smith.
Could you just say if this represents a change from previous years in scheduling, or is this pretty much a status quo budget schedule?
Through to the chair, it's a little bit, it's kind of the status quo and kind of not. We always because we always decide when we want to get the budget passed. So we start with that and we work our way back. But we also, in this schedule and per this council's preferences last year in having more public input, giving more availability for public input, we have scheduled some night meetings so that we have that option for the public, so that they can see, people can come in the morning if they're here, or if their work commitments or other commitments might impede them from coming during the day. They could also come in the evening. So I would say the night meetings are a departure from that. But as far as scheduling it, it kind of falls where we normally do it. But we just want to make sure that staff are given enough time to answer the questions that council have. Our last budget season, if you recall, was quite tight. And we felt like we had budget meetings all the time because we had a lot of them. And we're thinking this year with more experience on the council table and more experience that staff had with the whole process, that this should serve us quite well in getting information out to the public sooner, because we are bringing the capital budget in the 25th of November. So that is sooner. And we'll be bringing in the operating budget about 2 weeks sooner than we did the year before. So it certainly is it's a little quicker, but I think that it should serve us well in getting the information out to the public, and by circulating the schedule ahead of time, then the public can make arrangements to know when things will be happening.
Thank you. Are there any further questions before we move on to the next item? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so we'll move on to 10.2, a report from the Administration Department.
Good morning once again, and this report is more like opening it up for discussion after reviewing once a year we do the nominating for committees to change council members on those committees, boards, and they include external. And in general conversations with the mayor regarding one of the committees, the CAO Evaluation Committee, it was discussion around maintaining a structure with that committee as there's a new process involved and being put up in that process of the review and taking that term from just being a one-year term and potentially moving it to, she would like to have it as a 4-year term. But as part of the overall discussion, it led to there's a lot of committees that members sit on for 1 year. And some of the external committees that you sit on may only meet several times a year, and you're not getting, the committee's not getting the value of the member because it takes a bit of time to get comfortable and understanding what the role is and what that committee does. There's the onboarding and those type of things. And then once you start to get comfortable, the term's up, so you come off. So what we're suggesting in this report is perhaps maybe taking those 1-year terms and shifting them to a 2-year term. So it allows for that 2-year time frame, but it's not extenuating. Of course, at any time, a councillor can always make a request that they wish not to sit on a committee further, and you can do that, and then the nominating committee would just bring forward a new name for that committee. It doesn't happen very often, but there could be circumstances where that happens, or there could be a member that, doesn't sit on council anymore. So there are those scenarios that could occur in that instance. There are, right now, of course, council, I've circulated the ask of what committees you'd like to sit on. It was interesting that a lot of you said you'd like to remain on certain committees that you're already sitting on. So that was interesting, and that's also what triggered this conversation. There are approximately 12 committees that have terms expiring, 1-year terms, and by making this shift to a 2-year term, it would reduce that number down to 2 or 3, if I remember when I did the exercise, that the nominating committee would meet and there would only be 2 or 3 committees, because those committees have specific terms of reference that say 1 year. So in order to change that, those terms of reference would have to be revised to reflect that type of change. The other 2 of the committees, as I mentioned already, the CAO committee is one that, would like to be extended to a 4-year term. There's also a committee that I believe the councillor typically sits on it as the representative for the area, and those examples are things like the Lunenburg Water, Protection Water, Oakland, like the councillor sits there. But for the Bridgewater Source Water Protection Committee, the council for the area always sits on it, and that's been always the nominating committee's decision. However, it's only a 1-year term, so we're thinking, why don't we switch that just to be automatically the councillor that represents that area to sit on that committee. And that would switch that one then to a 4-year term also. So, as I said, this would help both the external committees and the committees that are working with these members to get to know each other, get to know the roles, and have an understanding of what the committee's work is. It will alleviate a workload on the nominating committee, because it does take a lot of time to go through these steps and do the balancing and trying to make sure everybody's sitting on a balanced schedules of number of councils. And we're thinking that this might be a good change, and we wanted to bring it here just to have the discussion and maybe get direction if that's how we go. And in that case, then if this committee is happy with that, then I can proceed with making those shifts, and then the nominating committee can meet within the next couple of weeks so that we can get a recommendation on the last council meeting in November to finalize the nominations.
Councillor Hubley.
I think this is a great idea. I believe it was Councillor Vino and I that tried to have this discussion last council, and yeah, I love this. My only concern is the 4-year with the CAO and the Bridgewater Water Source. I'm worried about the following council possibly not having any experience. Like, if those 4 councillors that were here for 4 years didn't get reelected, where's the experience when we enter into the next council? That's my only concern, that maybe they should also be 2 years just for the experience factor. But I really, really like this. I think it's long overdue.
Councillor Oikel.
I really like it too, except for the nominating committee. I'm feeling that after 2 or 3 years, that committee could become biased, right? Just thinking, just kind of going through the motions, because we are human, right? Is that the right word that I used? Human? Yeah. No, the bias. Sometimes I get confused when that word needs to be used. But yeah, so I'm thinking that I would prefer to see that as well, just for 2 years.
Yep. Would you like to speak to that?
We can certainly have the nominating committee remain as a one-year term so that there is that rotation through council. That would be that's 1 or 2 year. It's whatever the wish of the committee would be, we could do that.
Can I?
Yep.
Yep. I think the 2 years are good because the first year, they're just getting their feet wet and trying to understand the system, trying to understand the process. And by the second year, they got it down. And then they would have better experience, especially if you leave maybe one person on it, although the mayor is always on it, to lead into the other 2 years, right?
Yeah, thank you. Mayor McLean-Weil and then Councillor Brooks.
Just on the, I think that raises an interesting point regarding the CAO evaluation. We've changed the process dramatically, and what it requires is that the committee now will be on a quarterly basis providing feedback to the CAO. And in order to do that, you really do need continuity. I understand that maybe it should be a 3-year term and that we change it in that last year. I'm not really sure, but it is a very different process. So the committee is offering this feedback quarterly, and then council will provide feedback on an annual basis. But the form that we're using is very different. The process is a lot more involved in terms of the feedback we provide. So there needs to be an element, a high degree of trust that you develop in the group in order to have those conversations with the CAO. So I hear your concern, but I also think that there's great value in having that trust established, that you can have really in-depth conversation, and that takes time to develop.
Councillor Brooks.
Just echoing what the mayor said, I think this process that we've developed is supposed to be inclusive of the rest of the council. So if it weren't, I would be more uncomfortable with that. But the idea is to give feedback to the CAO and also to come back to the rest of the council. So it's a little bit of a different setup. And I do think that for continuity, plus there's going to be interplay between all of us. There's no firewall between us on the committee and the CAO and the rest of us. It's really just the members who will be the mouthpiece back and forth. But the continuity piece, I think, is good for the process.
Councillor Vino, or Deputy Mayor Vino.
Thank you. I'm glad to see this come back around again and have a discussion on it. And I also think in terms of the outside groups and their perspective on having a new counselor appointed every year, like the senior safety, the library committee, the chamber, it also works better as a group as a whole, not just for us switching around, but for members in those group. And I've definitely heard feedback on that. So looking forward to seeing this come through if there is consensus.
Okay, any more comments? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I really support this as well. Being on senior safety and the library committee, I was one of the people who said, oh, I just got my feet under me and just kind of found my groove with these committees. And it is hard to think, oh, now I have to, give it up and learn a whole different committee, which I will say, like, you do want to keep moving a little bit and learning, and because we're asked to be generalists in our positions, so it is good to know about all the different committees' work, but definitely 2 years on a committee being the standard for most of the committees, I think is really super helpful. It's also when, those committees are looking for people to take on positions within their groups, and you've got to say, well, I don't even know if I'll be here in the next month. It just leads to a lot of inconsistency with those groups.
Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of consensus definitely on the 2-year terms, and the CAO evaluation 4-year term, there's a few questions.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 4 years after hearing from the mayor and Councilor Brooks. 4 years makes sense with a new evaluation process. That sounds great.
Councillor Oikel.
Even though I understand what was said, I still feel that 2 years. And that it gives other counselors an opportunity to be able to understand the process. And also, I'm just really concerned regarding influences and bias of people being there for 2 years. And, because we're not just thinking of our council, it's future councils, right? Because it will probably be something that will go into the future as well.
Okay. What about a rotating appointments where some people are replaced every 2 years?
Still be pretty much the same, like if there's 4 people on, including the mayor, or if it's 4 people plus 3, having 2 off, it would be kind of almost like the same, right? Because I think, for example, MJSB has somebody on the board, and then they have an alternate, and the alternate gets changed sometimes, and sometimes they don't, right? So it'd be almost the same type of thing as every 2 years.
Councillor Hubley.
I like what was put forward. I like 2 years for committees. I think that the 4-year for the CAO review and the water source would be fine. And I think it would simplify the whole process.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Councillor Moore.
I kind of like the thought that the mayor had, that 3 years, because then that way the 4th year of the term, you would have different people on the CAO committee that will probably be, hopefully, coming back the following year, and maybe will be put back on to do another 2 years. So I like the 3-year. I like the compromise, believe it or not. I like the 3-year thing. And then the 4th year, don't laugh, the 4th year, change it up.
Not completely, though.
Oh.
Sorry. No, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the comments. So it seems like we have consensus on 2-year terms for committees, including the nominating committee. And so what we can do with, there's also consensus on the water source 4-year term. So what I will do is put the CAO term to a vote, which I can do, a show of hands. And so all those in favor of following the recommendation of staff and having the CAO evaluation committee terms being 4 years, raise your hands. Okay, so 7 in favor, so that will be the direction. Okay, so we'll move on to no consideration of correspondence. So we'll move on to mayor, deputy mayor, and councillor matters. And we have one issue to be brought forward by Councillor Bell, I believe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nova Scotia is experiencing severe exceptional drought conditions, particularly in the western and southern parts of the province, due to a prolonged lack of significant rainfall. I think we all know that, but many private wells, particularly dug wells, have run dry and groundwater levels are below normal. And one of the things that we're experiencing in my district is even those individuals with drill wells have suddenly experiencing a discoloration of their water because of even the depth that they are at has seen a substantial change. This is a result of low surface and groundwater levels, prompting calls for water conservation and efforts by even those on municipal water systems, like Mahone Bay. While it has been a few rainy days this last week, I believe that we need a lot more than 125 millimeters just to reach the rainfall average, but we may shortly see our ground and soil freeze. That would cause undue hardship for many residents in MODL. We currently have many residents coming to the MODL administration building, bringing portable containers, filling water for their homes. In a short time, the lowering temperatures will make this distribution method impossible. I want us to consider putting a structure in place that can operate in sub-zero weather. I don't want to state what that structure would look like or what the distribution method will look like, as I am sure that our staff can check around the province to see other examples of what choices could be presented to us for consideration. Or we may look at other sources and come up with a system of our own. My main concern is that we do not suddenly cut off those who depend on a cost-efficient and safe source of water during the winter in case the wells are not dependable. So I just wanted to get it on the floor. I'm sure all of you probably have your own stories of what's happening in your own districts, or you may be familiar with what other municipal units are doing to help their citizens. So I just wanted to bring it to the floor. I'm not coming with any recommendation on how the finished product would look or what the budget will be. That's for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Mayor McLean-Weil.
Yeah, I'd just like to respond and appreciate that Councillor Bell has brought it forward. We spent some time at our strategic planning session last week speaking of this, and our staff are working and will come forward with a report at our next on November, I think 18th is our next meeting. So we'll see some presentation on what we might consider. And I think you've outlined it very well, that over the next few weeks, we're likely going to freeze. We may not. Sometimes we don't get, heavy frost and freezing conditions until January. But regardless, people are going to be in quite serious position. I was at the Y last night, and three people came to me to talk about water. And another person whose well went dry yesterday morning. So even though we're getting rain, the water table is low for many, and we'll continue, I think, to hear this. But I think at this point, it's in the process with our staff, and we'll have an opportunity for a good discussion on this in a couple of weeks, or 10 days or so.
Okay, good. It sounds like we'll be discussing that soon, which is important because, like you said, it will be freezing soon enough. Are there any other comments on that matter? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I really appreciate this proposal. It's the right thing to do. It's the right time to do it. It really, the lack of water in people's wells has been an emergency, and definitely I've felt it in my district as well. And I just want to plant a seed for a longer term look at this issue around drought. And, this feels like an exceptional year, but is it, going forward? A couple of the workshops I was at last week, with scientists, researchers talking about climate change and what's ahead, we know that this is going to be happening more often, and we've got to change the way we're thinking about a whole lot of things, and just the way we're looking at preparing communities with Fire Smart, looking at how we might bring those principles into our work and empower communities. I think we also need to be thinking about climate resilience around drought. And one of the things that's been really interesting to me is hearing our seniors, some of our seniors talking about the relationship to water. And a lot of seniors have a very different relationship to water. Many people might have grown up without running water, and they know how to stretch water use further. They have, tactics and strategies that some of the younger generations, we need to learn. We need to learn and change some of our habits. So, that's maybe not the work that needs to be done right now, but I was talking to Fred Bonner of Rural Water Watch, and his website, there's some great resources on water efficiency. He seems to prefer using efficiency over conservation. But just to plant a seed as we go forward with our budget, and we're talking more about our climate plan, are there things that we can be budgeting for? Rain barrel programs is something that I've been thinking about. It's so hard to source a rain barrel, especially if you don't have the transportation to go and pick it up. Could there be a program where we bulk buy and help deliver, and people can buy at a discounted rate? Anyway, I think these are conversations for later, but just wanted to put that out there, and again, thank Councillor Bell for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to, there are no added items or in-camera agenda for today. So I'll just remind everyone that there will be a special council meeting following this meeting. We'll have a short break and then we'll come back for that. Let's say 10 minutes. Sounds good. And then, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Councillor Hubley, seconded by Councillor Brooks. All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned.